Welcome to Second Take. I'm your host Jay, and today we have a very special guest, New Zealand's own Almighty Johnson star and director of the web series Auckward Love, Emmett Skilton. It's a pleasure to have you. Stay tuned. Love the Almighty Johnsons.
Thank you.
Could you explain for anybody that hasn't seen it what the Almighty Johnsons is?
Sure, yeah. So the Almighty Johnsons is a comedy drama mixed with sci-fi show that came out in New Zealand about four brothers and their grandfather and their quest to fulfill this family prophecy.
Yeah.
Now, in most New Zealand shows, a family prophecy would be to rob a bank or to try and get that job. Whereas for this one, their family secret is that they are all Norse gods, and the family prophecy is for my character Odin to find another character, Frig, and get married and then get full powers. So it's this really wacky show where you are thrown straight into the seat of my character's experiences of having these real awesome powers that are a little bit shitty and knowing that they can be even better. So he's trying to seek help, he's trying to find this path or that path, and to put it simply, it's a coming of age story about a boy turning into a man. And our writer James Griffin just chose Norse gods might be the best way to do that.
How much of the full story did you know when you signed on for the pilot?
For me it was very little. When I signed on, I knew the general story, and I knew my character and some of the relationships with the brothers. But in terms of the story, as writers, they have a clear idea of where they're heading, but there's only sort of 2 to 4 scripts written at any one time when you launch a show.
Right.
And then they're carrying on being written. From that first episode, I knew I was going to get naked in a forest. I knew that some of my brothers in the show, like Dino Gorman, was going to be naked under a table. I knew that another brother was going to be having sex somewhere random on a beach. So in terms of the story, I only knew what was in the script and what the writers had told me. So it was this strange world for my character not knowing what was going on, but also for me it kind of worked that I didn't know hugely what was going on. I was one of the last ones to sign on. Me and the grandfather, Ben Barrington, were 2 of the last to sign on. So others had been in the process for a long time. Tim Balm was part of the writing group who played Mike, and the other 2 brothers had been in there since the beginning, Jared Turner and Dino Gorman. They were part of the developing the first reads for the network, so they kind of had a much better idea.
That's great.
Yeah, let's go with it.
You said that there was only about 4 episodes in advance that were planned.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any major changes that people wouldn't know about?
Between seasons is when the changes really, really happen.
Oh.
They do have a clear idea about where they're going with each episode, even though the specifics aren't written out. But when it comes to season 2 and season 3, for example, we'd have sit-downs with the writers and they'd ask about character and where we'd go and what we'd do. So I guess if they were writing season 2 while we were just starting to shoot season 1, it would be very, very different. Because by season 2 they really knew our characters and knew what would be funniest or what would be best for storyline. And there was a Māori, which you probably know about now being here. There was a Māori aspect in there for 3 episodes in the end of season 2, which they found didn't really work. So when you would normally have started the season where you left off, they were kind of nowhere to be seen, and it was easier to jump forward in time to carry on than it was to continue that storyline and have it taper off. So there's little changes like that the writers are sort of conscious of.
It felt like from the beginning that Gaia was meant to be the Frig, but then she strayed away and then she came back. So when it happened, I was very excited.
Good.
I guessed it from the beginning.
Well, that's the beauty of writing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And knowing how your audience is responding. I think that was always it. And part of, the way a traditional story is, it's always been where you least expected / right under your nose. And so for Axel being not the smartest cookie at all, there was that frustration for the audience, but then there was also that satisfaction when it came to be true, I think. And in terms of the writing side of things, the longer you can hold the audience's curiosity about that situation, the better.
Yeah.
And I had the same feeling that it was her all along, and then they go, that person comes in and that person comes in. I remember reading the episode 3 in season 1 maybe, where there's the costume party and it turns out to be all these people. There's a bunch of Frigs and there's a bunch of Thors or whatever it is. When I was reading that, I went, "Holy shit, has he already found it? What the hell?" And so I was actually in the audience's seat as I was reading it going, "Oh man, wow, we got here very, very fast." And then of course, James Griffin will switch it on you.
Yeah, that's great. Which episode was your favorite to film?
Favourite to film?
Yeah.
Season 3, which I think, I'm not sure whether it went on Netflix.
Yeah, it is.
I did. Season 3 of, that'll be probably episode 7 was my favourite to shoot.
Yeah.
That's where we go to Whangamanga and I find Thor again, and he's got his problems and he's got his various issues for those who haven't watched it, so I won't go into too much detail. But it was just a pleasure to shoot, and it really felt like we'd gone somewhere else. We're shooting sort of 40 minutes out of the city, but it really felt like we were somewhere else. And as an actor, there was so much time taken with that stuff. You know, it was a pretty heavy themes, some of that stuff, and it felt really connected, a lot of that stuff. There was still comedy, but there was a lot more drama involved, which I found a lot of pleasure in.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that episode a lot.
Oh, good.
Especially the ending, where I won't say too much, but the singing aspect.
Yes.
That's so
and he's actually a fantastic singer. He's an Elvis impersonator, I believe. Yeah.
That's great. With the success that it's had overseas, are you ever hopeful for another season or maybe a movie or something?
Yeah, I know that we're all on board if it was to happen, and I know that James, the creator, will come to the party in a heartbeat if he got to write more. For me, as an actor, there's a lot of frustrated people about it, and audience and actors and crew. But for me, I was very satisfied. I felt that Axel personally had gone from where he was at the beginning to where he always planned, or we always wanted him to get. Yeah. You know, which is in charge of his own destiny, and being there by the end, I was really satisfied. Yeah. But in a heartbeat, I wouldn't know what would happen with a season 4, but a film or a tele feature or a Christmas special would be a joy. We did do the web series, Gods Among Us, which was a really fun insight into Zeb's point of view, which is the roommate, my roommate, if you haven't seen it yet, and that was a fun time to shoot.
Yeah. Was that weird. During season 3 or was it?
That was just after season 3.
Okay.
I think it was. I can't remember whether season 3 had even aired yet, but it was after shooting season 3.
Gotcha. I like that a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I like the chemistry between you and Zeb, and how. For those of you that have watched the pilot episode at this point, as soon as he finds out that you are a god, he goes with it.
Stoked.
He's on your back like the entire time.
That was another favourite episode was season 1, episode 5, where the drugs come into our possession, without going into too much detail again, because of that buddy. You know, we were in pretty much every frickin' scene, and it was just like the whole left, right, up, down of what a relationship between buddies can be. Glorious, to the point where I have to pick him up furious where he's had his clothes stolen. Yeah. It's good fun.
Did you ever hope to see the Norse point of view, everybody with their full powers?
That would be great.
It would be amazing.
I think that's in order for the Almighty Johnsons to go to a place of full powers requires full budget.
Right.
In New Zealand particularly, there's not that kind of budget that supports a special effect aspect, and unfortunately the way, depending on which way you look at it, we have in our minds, thanks to movies and things, of what happens when people have full powers, and what happens when Stark Enterprises has this giant robot and fucking destroys the planet, this kind of stuff, or smashes down buildings and stuff. So in order for that to be still in a believable realm, James kept our powers at bay, and he kept the possibilities at bay, and doing so, it became one of the great aspects of its comedy. In fact, it was a little bit shit. So, or their powers were a little bit shit. Yeah. So I would love to see that aspect. I would love to see what it's like. They were throwing around the idea that the way the finale would end wasn't going to be in the forest like it was. It was going to be more, we were going to be on a beach.
Oh yeah.
And there was going to be aspects of weather being controlled by one of the gods back in Asgard. And then there was going to be immediately that relationship between humans getting punished by gods in Asgard for whatever we did and didn't do.
Wow.
So immediately there you have, okay, some powers are brewing, something pretty major,
Yeah.
and you have that conflict that can carry on to season 4 if we were to get one. So I know they intended to bring that power in,
Yeah.
but it just, unfortunately money and time and people's interests shift.
Hopeful for the future, right?
Come to Canada and shoot it.
Exactly.
It's cheap in Toronto.
It's very cheap in Toronto.
Good.
So let's make a bit of a transition into Auckward Love.
Cool.
For people that don't know, could you just give a quick summary? I know you already,
Totally. Auckward Love is it's a web series that I've co-created and directed. It is about a girl who is heartbroken by none other than Dean O'Gorman, and now she is on the journey with her 3 best friends to find love again.
Mm-hmm.
And its tagline is finding love one awkward date at a time. We go a little bit further and use language that may not be allowed on a network television, themes that may not be allowed on a network television. So we really take the ball and run with it in terms of what we'd like to see and what we see as there being a hole in the industry.
Right.
And it's been received really well. It's on one of our major networks online divisions, which is sort of where they're heading at the moment. Which is called TVNZ On Demand, and it's finding a really good group of people watching it there and a good fan base, and we are about to embark on season 2.
Fantastic.
So we're in the first season, we were following one character and what it's like to go and get a wax, or what it's like to give someone an awful sexual experience without going into detail. In season 2 we're taking it out of the house, we're going further, we're following all 4 girls and what it's like for them, we're following their careers, we're following their sexual exploits, their parties, and a few other surprises which I'm still developing right now.
I like that your fiance is in it. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I was watching the show,
Yes.
and then I go, okay, so, there's some Almighty Johnson cameos in there. That's great. That's nice.
Well, the beautiful thing about the boys and Johnsons is they're like, like, I'll come along and have some fun.
That's
and
great.
the whole thing is my fiance Holly, they're her stories, which is horrible to think, but they're a little bit glorified. So it's really made from us and put out into the world for the judgment to come.
How do you feel taking on the position of director?
I think being an actor, in a sense, prepares you, or has prepared me for being a director. I not only understand on set, but I also understand acting well enough that I can, as a director, speak to the actors in a very personal way that gets the performances we need. So understanding it from both points of view really feeds in. And when I was doing Almighty Johnsons and any jobs that I do, I'm constantly asking questions from anyone in the crew because I want to know more. It's not that I want to do their job, but by knowing what they're doing, I might be able to make their job a bit easier when I do my job. If a person's trying to set up a light and they need me to stand there, but maybe they're not saying it, if I'm asking questions and having a conversation about it, I'm not going to step out of the light because I know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of about creating that team effort, and I'm just fucking curious all the time.
I like that.
And it's definitely fit into being a director.
That's a good answer, by the way.
It's also very satisfying being a director because as an actor you perform and then you leave it there. But as a director or a producer, which is what I'm doing both of those things, not only do I get to be part of the writing and all the way through to the performance on the day, but I also get to go into the editing suite and then continue to tell the story as best I can. It's funny, I think as actors we often consider, or some I guess, I can't speak for everyone, but some consider performance to be everything. But it's amazing seeing the other side of things and how much the editing makes a difference, how much sound makes a difference, how much good sound makes a difference. And then music and sound effects. We've got a fantastic team, a guy called Ennett Skilton who has actually worked for TVNZ. He was our editor, and he's got this great comedy about him. He's a European who has been over in New Zealand loving film and creating film, and he was a joy to work with, and he loved jumping on board. And then this fantastic Foley artist actually. She's also a sound designer, but a Foley artist by trade, I guess you call it, called Amy Barber, who, like in that first episode of Auckward Love, the amount of sound she put in there that we'd never had, paper crumbling, water dripping, things like that just you don't realise how much the world has been brought to life until someone's done that to it, And then our Nina Wells, our DP, our camera operator and DP, was just superb. She, I think being a female, she also had found a lot of joy in what she was watching, so she'd almost get in the action rather than any kind of outside view. She'd be capturing just the right moments and rolling the camera a little longer than she needed to get little bits and pieces of reactions, things like that.
In terms of production cost and time, what's the difference between Almighty Johnson's and Auckward Love? It's got to be major.
Boy!
Yeah.
Almighty Johnson's was taxpayer funded in New Zealand. That's how our funding bodies work. You can get individual funding, but over the 3 seasons it was probably $30 million. Whereas you might get that for half a season in the States, for example. So that's taxpayer money. How it works is you get a network behind you and then you apply for funding. And the first season was 10 episodes, and I think we got about 7 million or so for that, and then it changes per season. Whereas Auckward Love, we wanted to create something, and we wanted to create something then and there. We hadn't considered funding, and we knew that we didn't really need to, because we had enough interest and enough of a really passionate team on board that we could go forward with our plans because people loved what they were doing rather than doing it for the money. We did have a small amount of budget. We had $5,000 for the first season, which was funded through Random Films and then through a private investor, Martin Cooper, who believed in the product enough to help us, but also was interested in seeing where the future might go for us as makers. And so in a sense it was a semi-personal investment. And season 2, I'm looking to create a much more professional environment. So we are seeking funding. We have got funding and we're getting more. In a way so that we can, you have student films that pay $50 in lunch or something like that. I'm interested in going a step further and making sure as best as possible we can create a professional environment, because what that does is the bigger crew you have, the more you need everyone on side. And if it's people taking their time, they deserve money or care of some kind to take a bit of pressure off the fact that they've just left their comfortable bed or their kids playing in the other room or whatever with the wife, or the husband. So the fact that we can start to breed a sense of professional will only set us up in a great way for the future. Because we plan to make more, and we've got films in mind, and we've got network television series in mind. So it's just a good way to sort of progress the company and our own practices.
Do you mean Auckward Love could turn into a movie?
Not necessarily Auckward Love turning into a movie. We do plan to make 3 seasons of it, and each one getting even more production value, more episodes, longer length, more places. We really want to, because I live in LA a lot of the time, and I've got it lined up to shoot there when we got the budget as well.
That's good.
There's a few more restrictions in LA, but we have a few films, thriller. There's a thriller film in mind that's based on one of our writers, Jess Sayers' plays. And we also have 2 TV series in mind, which are very early stages, so a little bit hard to talk about.
What's next for you in terms of movies and TV?
So straight after I shot Auckward Love, I did a short film that's about to go into festivals. I did an American TV series for AMC and a feature film that's about to start in China and in July, launch in China. So for the last few months between writing and developing Auckward Love 2, I've been doing ADR in and out of the studio and working with the director on the Wonder 3D, that one's called, the Chinese film. So I'm happily busy with my own projects, both as a producer and director, but also the acting side is very much humming along. So I'd imagine sometime during the middle of the year I'll travel overseas again and carry on that momentum while my editor's working here and go with the flow. It's a funny industry in that you, like anything, you are essentially applying for jobs and hoping you might get them, whereas for New Zealand actors you you have a much smaller pool. So the fact that I'm, and a pool of acting, but also a pool of actors, so the fact that I'm creating my own work and our team are creating our own work, something very satisfying about it.
Yeah.
You know, breeding that attitude of not waiting for something to come, which I think is really important for creators. In the States, you have, if people aren't acting, they're doing classes. Whereas in New Zealand, if people aren't acting, they're doing their other job, in a sense. And I see no reason why your other job couldn't be creating acting, creating opportunities for you and other actors, you know?
That's great. The last little bit, I'm just going to do a bit of a lightning round. So it's just fast questions, fast answers.
Cool.
Okay. So we're going to start off easy. Favorite type of beer?
Export.
Okay.
That's what my dad drank. It's a New Zealand brand.
Cool. Favorite movie of all time?
Choo Choo Bang Bang or Across the Universe?
Love it.
I love musicals.
Okay. If you could pick any role in any movie ever, doesn't matter if it's already happened, if they did a reboot or something, what would you choose?
Daniel Day-Lewis, My Left Foot. Not because I think I could do it better, but because it was incredible and an amazing challenge. So
Fantastic. Okay. Batman versus Superman.
Batman, man. I don't know about this Superman thing, eh?
No?
And I love Ben Affleck as well. I don't know, there's past superheroes I haven't necessarily believed in, but yeah, Batman. Totally.
Okay. If you could be any of the superheroes, which would you be?
Any superhero, which one would I be?
In real life or in a movie? Doesn't matter.
If I could be a superhero in real life?
It doesn't matter.
Shit! There's something awesome about Nightcrawler.
Yeah?
Not that he's an X-Man up there, but
he can teleport. That's pretty
yeah, and that's it. He's a bit weird. It wouldn't necessarily fit in public, but
I mean, would you like being blued all the time with those little...
If I could teleport, I wouldn't give a shit.
There you go. Top 3 things people wouldn't know about you.
Top 3 things. I have a few tattoos. The early childhood centre that I went to when I was a kid, a creche, my mum still works at, and I ended up working at while I was at drama school.
Very nice.
23 years later. Yeah, I love kids. You learn a lot from kids. And third thing, I am a vegetarian.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Alright.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Oh, you think I'd be offensive or something?
No.
So, for people that haven't been to New Zealand, what would you say are the top 5 best things about New Zealand?
Top 5 best things? Relaxed attitude.
Yeah.
You can go from the beach to the snow to the forest all in one day.
Yeah. I love that.
The Māori culture is definitely one of the top ones, though not in a commercial sense. I think there's a beautiful history in Māori culture, and there's places that you can go to that will give you a really incredible insight into that. Rotorua is one of them. And were there 5 things or 3 things?
Let's do 3. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Let's just end it there.
Well, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for coming to New Zealand, man.
I loved it here.
Beautiful.
All right.
Thank you.
No, no, no.